SEC tweet earlier today? Did you see that?
No, what was that about?
I don't know if they deleted it. We're live on air. Let's check Twitter, see if it worked this time. I'm not sure if the restream stuff is working. However,
I'm locked into the blur. I tried to turn off the blur. It didn't even.
Well, you're locked in. Welcome to the blur. Yeah, so the SEC tweeted out this morning or at some point earlier today, warning individuals, or not warning them. They had, okay, we're live. We're live on Twitter. The SEC was warning individuals, let's see if I can find it, about the risk of investing in ETF products with Bitcoin futures in them. So people think it was a slip up by an intern.
Because you can't warn about it unless there's actually an ETF.
Yeah, well, actually, the tweet's still up 2 hours ago. Before investing in a fund that holds Bitcoin futures contracts, make sure you carefully weigh the potential risk and benefits.
And currently, no Bitcoin, none of that kind of product doesn't exist, right?
I don't think so. GBTC buys straight up.
They don't have futures.
Yeah.
They're not an ETF.
Yeah, and I don't think.
Oh, they didn't say the word ETF in the tweet.
No, they don't. But it's a fund that holds Bitcoin futures contracts, and I think that's what the ETFs that are going for. There's a lot of ETFs.
Yeah, they're all futures based. None of them are holding actual Bitcoin. They're all holding paper Bitcoin.
The SEC
they're speculating on paper Bitcoin.
The SEC acclimating to Bitcoin culture, making an announcement before an announcement, and alluding to an announcement before.
It's at least shitcoin culture.
Shitcoin culture. That is correct. This is going to be a tight rip today, freaks. As I said, Matt's traveling. I've got some engagements later tonight that I have to tend to. So let's jump right into it. We're going to go to Clark's dashboard. The price of Bitcoin is currently $57,440. One cuck buck's going to get you 1,741 sats. That means the Bitcoin market cap is $1.08 trillion. If you believe in a Bitcoin market cap, I know our friend Grubles does not. We're currently at block height 705,010. Nice even number. I like that. You know, Uncle Marty likes even numbers when we're recording. Mining. Here we go. Difficulty retarget. We are not 590 blocks away. Currently estimated to be the next difficulty adjustment. Estimated to be on October 18th, which would be Monday, and it's pretty static. That would be a increase of 0.3%. That's because blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Very close for that 10-minute target, but still 2 seconds below, 2 seconds quicker than Satoshi design. So we are going to have a slight upward adjustment as of right now. Damn, mempools. I don't want to say it's full, but there are a lot of transactions in Clark's mempool compared to the previous months of this show. There are currently 29,917 transactions in the mempool. I think that's the largest we've seen in quite some time, Matt. Maybe even since like April or March. Transactions, and we're not going to read that one because nobody cares. 1 sat per byte fees. Maybe get it in the day. Right now, immediates, according to Clark's dashboard, is 12 sats per byte. Samurai Whirlpool capacity is at 4,295.42 Bitcoins. That's 246.9 million cuck bucks worth of unspent value in Whirlpool. And that was us reading Clark's dashboard. Shout out to Clark. Got the
a lot of Bitcoin.
It's a lot of Bitcoin. A lot of Bitcoin. Shout out to Clark. He got the Jack Dorsey endorsement. Did you see that?
I did see that. That was cool.
Yeah. Think he's listening?
Who, Clark or Jack?
Both.
I hope they're both listening.
I do as well. I love both of you. All right. Should we start with the solemn news? You were like apprehensive about talking about this. Why?
It really fucked me up.
I know. What are we talking about?
So a
freedom fighter,
very talented, and dedicated 3D gun maker and designer, Jay Stark, was found dead in Germany last week.
What was he found dead?
And he was found dead 2 days after the police raided his apartment and said they didn't find him at the apartment.
Dead of a heart attack at 28 years old.
He was found outside of his parents' house in a car by himself, dead of a heart attack, allegedly.
Yeah, it's number one, extremely sad. Number two, extremely suspicious. Yeah, it seems very convenient. So
maybe we should can we give like a moment of silence?
Yes, let's give a moment of silence for Jay Stark. Hope he's resting in peace. Like I said, freedom fighter. Obviously, 3D printed guns are very controversial here in the United States specifically, but he was doing it in Europe where it's even more dangerous, where their gun laws are extremely strict. And so the fact that he was putting his neck on the line and fighting the fight on that turf is considerably admirable. Again, considering the strictness of the gun laws over in Europe. And so I think it would be very, very apropos to echo his words: live free or fucking die. You're muted now. I can't hear you.
In the show notes, we have linked a documentary by Jake Hanrahan on Jay Stark. I suggest everyone just go watch that. A lot of people actually accuse Jake of like it kind of being like a hit
piece. Trying to paint him in bad light.
But I think everyone should go watch it. And just for like a little bit of context, he came up with this 9mm automatic machine pistol that was, he called it the FGC, and it was a fuck gun control is what it stood for. Yeah.
You want to talk about Coinbase's relation?
Well, that's just all alleged. I don't even know. Like, there's one of the most fucked up parts about this is there's no like solid sources. We have like a Der Spiegel article, which is like the German New York Times.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have basically translations of that because that was in German. And that was just like, obviously that's just like the official line, right? So like there's no real solid details. And then one of his friends posted on Twitter that he thought it was Coinbase and eBay who gave up his information because he recently changed his name and changed his legal name and changed his location. So his friend said on Twitter that it was Coinbase and eBay who gave him up. But none of that's confirmed. None of this is confirmed. That's what's one of the most fucked up parts about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you don't like someone, like you raid their apartment and like 2 days later they show up outside their parents' house, dead of a heart attack. And no one knows what the fuck's going on. So yeah. Go watch the documentary. If you haven't watched the documentary, honestly, go watch it. It's very interesting. And like the code's out there, it's like Bitcoin. It's just living. It's just the code is out there, and there's like nothing you can do about it now. And that code's going to be iterated on and improved and all this other sorts of shit. That's how free open source software works. So
yeah, you can
go watch it. It's very interesting.
You can kill the individuals. Not saying that's exactly what happened here. Again, we can't confirm nor deny that was the case. But with that being said, the individuals, I think a better way to frame it is the individuals providing this code and leveraging it can die, but the code will live on if it's sufficiently distributed. This is why we need Bitcoin to be sufficiently distributed. We need it to live on. It is freedom money. Jay Stark was providing freedom enabling technology and guns too. If you don't believe that guns are freedom enabling technology, you don't understand world history. They are imperative for individuals to preserve their freedom and protect their private property and protect their inalienable right, to live free. To segue away from the solemn topic, we have Charlie Spears in the comments asking us to give a shout out to Oklahoma Bitcoin meetups, which is something we're more than happy to do. So if you're in the Tulsa area, there's going to be a Bitcoin meetup on October 29th. And if you're in Oklahoma City, November 9th is that local Bitcoin meetup. Max Gagliardi, I believe, is helping to organize the OKC meetup, I'm pretty sure. I may try to make it up to one of those if I can. We'll see. The move has been pretty chaotic. So, and it only gets more chaotic. Maybe that's another thing we can segue to. The supply chain issues are real. You can't get furniture right now. Freaks, I'm buying chairs, I'm buying sofas. I'm sorry. My wife.
You're short Bitcoin.
It's tough. And they're not cheap either, dude. It's like, fuck. It really does make you feel like you're short Bitcoin when you're buying this furniture. But yeah, it's real. I mean, we ordered furniture online months ago. We had the typical delay. Called one of the providers today, and they're just like, yeah, the woman on the phone was just like, you're not going to get it, essentially. Just like cancel the order. Just cancel the order. And so we've had to go to
that fucking sucks.
We've had to go to outlets and just buy in person if they have it. Craigslist, Marty. Craigslist is we tried Facebook Marketplace as well. Even there, stuff's pretty scarce. And then there's like the aspect my wife does want to use a new couch. Doesn't want to be using other people's couches.
Stock up your meat freezers, freaks.
Yes, that's another thing. Shout out to the ranchers out there on Tap Growth, Texas Slim. Actually released a Substack article today talking about his Texas beef initiative, trying to create circular economies. Oh, there goes your blur.
Finally, I was able to get it off.
Texas Slim's trying to create a circular economy and take care of our nutritional security here in Texas specifically. I'm actually going to have him on the podcast in a couple of weeks here, and I will be joining that community if they will have me, because I want to secure some beef as well. I've seen videos this week of ranchers, particularly in North Texas, warning that U.S. health officials are having them euthanize cattle and other animals and having them essentially bury good crops because the supply chains are so borked, and the slaughterhouses that are deemed acceptable and by the state to slaughter your animals aren't workable right now. And it's just, again, if you haven't listened to the episode I recorded with Ross Kennedy a couple of weeks ago about how borked the supply chains are, particularly around the ports, go listen to that. In that episode, he has a unique solution, a creative solution to try to fix the problem. And that's one thing I really want to highlight here is we need to stop listening to the government when it comes to our food security and these supply chain issues. They're not going to be able to fix it. We need people in these industries who actually know what's going on. Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Ted Cruz, whoever it may be, whoever your favorite politician is, they don't understand the intricacies of our supply chain as well as the people on the ground who are actually operating them. I think this is a particular point in history, considering what's gone on in the last 2 years and how fucked up things are, where the government should aggressively pursue a laissez-faire stance and just say, all right, we're gonna waive regulations for the next 6 to 9 months or something. Please, you experts, actual experts who understand the intricacies of what's going on, we're going to give you free range to fix it. Go for it. I think that's a very sensible way to fix this thing. Will it happen? Probably not. And if that,
that's never going to happen.
No, but if they don't give us permission, don't even ask for permission. I think people should just start doing things creatively, spinning up slaughterhouses and packing warehouses locally to try to fix this problem, because it's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
J Stark news got you fucked up, man. Are you okay?
I didn't really. Yeah, I didn't. It's good that it was front loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think supply chain issues are just like, is this the new normal?
It shouldn't be.
But like, it's going to be in everything, right? Like in every facet of life, there is just you don't really know at this point, like what could be affected, because it's just all of our supply chains are so complicated.
Yeah. It's we need to get creative. And we need. I mean, I've been getting a little aggressive in the newsletter this week. Just like, we need to ignore the federal government, because they're making things materially worse. And I think Miles Suter, good friend of the show, good friend of ours, had a great thread earlier this week, I think maybe over last weekend, basically saying, we've gotten to the point, like, we have to harken back to the Declaration of Independence and why the founding fathers did that. And when the government ceases to serve the people that it's supposed to be serving, you have the right to alter or abolish that government and fix it. I think we're at that critical juncture in our lifetimes where I think you can make a very strong case that that is the case, and we have the right. That line in the Declaration of Independence, it wasn't just a justification for what the founding fathers were doing. It was a blueprint for societies to come after them to follow and do that as well. And I think there is, like USD Cuck just said in the chat, we are at war. We are at war with either a very pernicious ruling class, kleptocracy, whatever you want to call them, or a completely incompetent one that will not give up control. And we need to save ourselves. We can't have these people saving us. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why we love Bitcoin, is because it is a tool that allows us to begin fixing things in a parallel system. We can do it ourselves.
It's not perfect, but it helps empower individuals, and other things that help empower individuals used in combination will hopefully make the world a slightly better place at the very least.
Yes, we can do it. And that actually, I don't know if we're gonna get kicked off YouTube for this, but like, what's going on? Like, what are your thoughts on there's definitely some information suppression going on, particularly around what's going on with the airlines. I don't know.
Oh, dude, Southwest. Like, I was at the ticket counter one of the days because I was coming back from Nashville, Southwest, and the ticket counter was like packed with people. They were canceling flights all over. And one of the ticket clerks said that it was a COVID strike.
Is it?
Pilots is a COVID strike or whatever.
This is on the ground anecdotal evidence.
Yeah,
you've heard it.
But it's funny. I mean, it's not funny. I'm proud of them. I'm glad they're stepping up and striking. You know, I think they're one of the largest if not the largest pilots union in the country. The Southwest Pilots Union. It's ironic though, because the pilots union is also saying it's not a strike. They're like, our pilots are just tired. Yeah. They're tired. They're just, they're not feeling well, and they can't come in. Like the pilots union appealed the mandate, because it's fucked up that they have a vaccine mandate. Once again, regardless of how you feel about the vaccines, just the requirement for them to take it. And so first they filed an appeal to federal court, and then like 3 days later, they just all, were just feeling really tired. They're just feeling run down. They couldn't come to work. So it's not an official strike for what it's worth. But yeah, I feel like there's not that much. The media is like, the corporate media is like intentionally trying to downplay it.
Yeah, they're blaming it on weather, and weather's
Fortunately, my flight got through. Then I found out they were doing vaccine mandates. So now I'm going to try and I think Delta is the only one. It's like the only major carrier that isn't requiring vaccines.
Well, it's going to be very interesting
I'm trying to support them.
Particularly for Southwest. I think Delta too. Not that Delta, it seems like Delta's going the other direction. I think a lot of these airlines are domiciled in Texas, and Governor Abbott just came out and basically passed an order that said you can't, if you're a business, you can't mandate vaccines. And so Southwest definitely domiciled in Dallas. I haven't checked American Airlines or the other airlines, but they're technically domiciled in Texas. I don't think they legally can here without getting kicked out.
Southwest is definitely Texas based because I looked it up afterwards.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. So we have this interesting dynamics. We have individuals on the ground that seem to be, again, they're not technically striking. They're taking their sick days. They're all taking their sick days at the same time to send a message. And then you have states pushing back. And then you just have data getting out there. Did you see Sanjay Gupta on Rogan? Joe Rogan,
I haven't listened to it or watched it yet.
Base Rogan's back, baby. He called out Sanjay and CNN to his face. He was squirming, and he just made very, very good points that ivermectin seems to be working in a lot of places where it's taken, and it's nonsensical that number one, we're not allowed to talk about it. Number two, that CNN just overtly lied and said that Joe Rogan was taking horse paste medicine when he was prescribed the human pill, which has been administered to billions of people over the last 50 years by a doctor. And then he had a really good point about the push to vaccine children and why that may be misguided, considering the low risk that children seem to be at too when it comes to COVID. And then we're just getting a bunch of data. Countries like India.
So I guess the only way you can listen to that is through Spotify, right?
There's been clips on Twitter. Two clips I mentioned about I retweeted.
But like, if you want to listen to the full episode, you have to listen to it through Spotify.
Yeah. Which I do. I have Spotify. I like Spotify. Spotify is convenient for the music I like to listen to in the podcast.
I mean, it's good for music, but the podcasting is kind of questionable.
Agreed. Adam Curry's.
Okay, shit. Yeah. I mean, I got to give it a listen. I heard good things.
Yeah, it was good. What else we got here? Let's get down our list. This is a very interesting story that we should be following very tightly because. So the U.S. government is asking chip makers, TSMC, and Samsung to hand over data on their customers. So obviously, again, we talked about the supply chain issues earlier. Chip manufacturing obviously is high on the list of industries that have been affected by the supply chain issues. And in an attempt to help fix the issues, the U.S. government's going to these chip manufacturers and trying to get creative with them. But like one of the things they're asking for all the data on the customers, and TSMC and Samsung are being steadfast. Like, no, we're not giving you this data. And then the Biden administration is going back to them like, hey, there may be repercussions. And like, to me, this is completely asinine. Like these chip manufacturers have all the leverage. It's like, all right, like if we don't give you this data, and you don't allow your companies to work with us, like you're not going to have shit, like your supply chain issues aren't going to be solved. Like we'll just go work with other people. Maybe that'll be the beginning of a flood of ASICs onto the market because they'll be able to be produced and Apple won't have foundry space. It seems like a completely boneheaded move that makes no sense. Like, why do they need that data?
Well, you saw they pretended that it's they're trying to sort out the supply shortages. So they want to know where all the chips are going.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like encroaching KYC is what it feels like, right? It's like the same MO. Like tell us your client data. Like do it out of favor, and then maybe there'll be more pressure in the future. But I mean, I think it seems like kind of an empty threat, but at the same time, like South Korea seems like the South Korean companies,
Samsung.
I guess it's mainly Samsung, right?
Yeah.
Like just, it seems like they're going to comply, but TSMC is not going to.
Yeah, TSMC. TSMC absolutely will not hand over sensitive information, particularly client data. TSMC is still assessing how to respond. Tell the Biden administration to fuck off, TSMC. Like, I'm an American.
But it's interesting. No one really reported on this.
Like,
yeah, it's in the Taipei Times, which is a Taiwanese news source.
It's from last Friday too. The U.S. Department of Commerce late last month asked companies, so they're reporting on something that happened in September, asked companies in the semiconductor supply chain to fill out questionnaires by November 8th, seeking information regarding the ongoing chip shortage. While the request is voluntary, U.S. Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo has told industry representatives that the White House might invoke the Defense Production Act or other tools to force their hands if they do not respond. Again, like, these are multinational corporations domiciled in other countries. Like, how does the U.S. have the ability?
Where do we buy our chips from if we need chips?
Yeah, you completely moved all the manufacturing to these countries. Intel sucks. AMD and NVIDIA aren't really pushing out like top of the line chips that are necessary. You don't have any.
You think they don't even realize it? Like, do you think like they actually like there's people in the government that are implementing these things, or just like have no, they think, well, if we stop buying from them, they're going to go bankrupt. Like, they need our money.
It's like, no, we need their fucking chips, you assholes. What is it? What is this? This move doesn't make any sense to me at all. So it'll be, and again, like, I mean, we mentioned earlier, like they obviously can't fix the supply chain issues in other areas of the economy, whether it be furniture, food.
And the good news, right? Like, we don't really need, if no new ASICs got produced for the next 2.5 years, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
No, I mean, as a miner, I would love that.
It'd be great if you already had an ASIC. It'd be fantastic. And a malicious actor couldn't be making ASICs because there's no new ASICs being made. So the hash rate would still be as secure as it is now. It's not like there's a shadow, because they're in my theoretical, no one's making ASICs. But if no one made chips for like vehicles or trucks or medical equipment or planes, cell phones, just all, I'm just mentioning computers in general. But like, if we didn't have new chips for those for the next 2.5 years, that would be like complete chaos.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I think as Americans, we do have the right to alter and abolish this current form of government. They're putting the populace at risk, like materially, in a number of avenues, whether it be food, printing money, energy instability, and now this chip stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Again, I mean, Braj is saying it in the YouTube comments, but he says seems like controlled demolition. It's like, again, it's hard to believe that there is not some controlled demolition going on with it. The incompetence is either stunning or there's some malice. Again, who knows? What we do know is that the product of the decisions that are being made are pretty terrible across the board. So we need to figure something out. I think individuals, industries, again, I'm happy to see what the airline industry is doing. Southwest, the air traffic controllers in Jacksonville. I believe I heard about another pilot strike that is planned for this week as well. Keep doing it. I saw a video of a bunch of oil riggers who were told that they were going to need to get vax mandated. They gathered together all at once. They walked out in unison, said, all right, good luck. And then as they were getting to the gate, their bosses said, all right, we're not going to mandate it. Like, if you use action and coordinated action with
peaceful non-compliance.
Exactly. Peaceful non-compliance. That's the thing. Like, it's insane, man. It's insane. Moving down the list. My Telegram's blowing up right now. I gotta find your
US takes top mining spot.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate everything.
You're not excited about that?
I mean, this data.
You don't agree with the data?
I love the Cambridge Institute. I don't think. I mean, they said that China
based on IP address, right?
But it's self-reported too. I believe there's a self-reported aspect to it.
So none of the illegal Chinese miners are sending in their information.
Exactly. Like, they have 0% hash rate in China. It's just not.
I know, but they definitely don't have 0%, right?
Yeah, it's just not true.
I mean, if you're mining in China, you're probably using a VPN and you're coming out of a different country.
Yeah. I mean, I think yes, there's been a material amount of hash rate that has moved to the U.S. Um, I just don't feel comfortable advertising.
Did you see the Cambridge chart?
Yeah, I don't
Just
feel
like this
comfortable.
huge, like 75% chunk of China and just like goes all the way down to zero.
Yeah, I just don't feel comfortable uh, marking that as a fact of the hash rate.
Do you think US miners have 35% of the hash rate?
I wouldn't be surprised. There are massive,
What's your number?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably around like
You would
between.
think under, right?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
probably think like think around 20 between 25 and 30. 35 seems a bit high. And
That's
like
a
you
lot.
said, we don't want it to get too high either, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily cheerleading for it, but people were excited about it.
yeah, I mean, hopefully the U.S. gets back to some sense. And then again, we've said this many times: states are asserting their rights, so the hash rate is falling, predominantly in places like Texas, North Dakota, Wyoming, that Pennsylvania
But that's
coal.
it's almost like even worse. Like, what do you think I mean, it's good in that Texas kind of has a hands off, but like talking about concentrated mining, like what do you think the percentage of the hash in Texas is right now? Is it like 12% or like 15%? Like is half of American hash rate in Texas?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean
Like that's
that's why I
insane.
push off grid mining, dude. And
Yeah,
a lot of the Texas mining's on grid too, and the demand response.
that's pretty crazy.
The demand response stuff, it is powerful if it works. I obviously I live in Austin, Texas now, and I've been meeting with a lot of Bitcoiners in the first couple of weeks that I've been here, and I talked to a lot of miners, and they are building excess capacity for the grid. Bitcoin miners are going to consume, and they're creating these demand response mechanisms to feed electricity to the grid when demand is high. Like the stuff is being built out, so it is innovating grid systems, which is great to see. But yeah, the operations that are doing this are massive, massive operations that are very centralized. Like if I don't think Texas will ever do it. But if the state ever came and told them to turn off their lights, it'd be hard. That would be a significant amount of hash rate. And it doesn't even have to be that. What if like an EMP attack or something like that? Like what if people start getting malicious? It's
Well,
very
I mean, the fear to me is like especially with the public regulated corporate miners, is that they fall in line with all the KYC bullshit.
Yeah.
And then that can go two ways. That can either go, I guess it's the same. It has the same result. They could either basically mine no transactions because they just don't even want to deal with the overhead, so they just don't
Minus
include
block.
any transactions in their block, which is valid. That's fair. They don't want the transaction fee. Or they could whitelist, blacklist transactions about which transactions they include in a block. And what I alluded to earlier is it's kind of the same result. It means the other miners are going to take those transaction fees and mine them into the blocks. Just might mean you might have to pay a higher fee, unless there's like a massive amount of them doing that. Then it can become an issue.
Yeah. So Razik Nembro saying in the YouTube comments, within the US, 19.9% of Bitcoin's hash rate is in New York.
Wow.
18.7 in Kentucky, 17.3 in Georgia. Texas accounts for 40% according to Foundry.
New York, Bitcoin mining capital of the country.
Where they got that Greenwich plant. CoinMint has a large hosting facility in New York as well.
I guess because of the hydro.
Yeah, up north in the Lakes region. Yeah, Kentucky is an underscored state too. I should mention that as well. They've got a lot of mining. They have those incentives as well, the tax breaks on the sales tax.
But depending on when that report came out, like I feel like Texas has gained a lot, like very recently. Like over the last 5 months, 6 months.
Obviously, I'm a big Texas fan. I'm here. It's a big meme though. Like how much stake is behind the sizzle of the Texas mining narrative is something I think that needs to be looked into a bit more. I mean, there's definitely, I mean, you have Riot's Windstone facility. That's massive. That dude, I forget his name, but he's like showing videos of them just like adding more and more capacity. They're plugging in a shit ton of ASICs. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Disclaimer, I'm on the board of a publicly traded mining company.
But not Riot.
Not Riot, Fortress.
And not an American company either.
That's Canadian.
Yeah.
It's Canadian.
I feel like you got to mix that in with the disclosure. Sorry. You know?
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I forgot we were talking about mining. Okay. Speaking of Canadians, had a great Canadian on the interview series this week, Steve Barber. Go listen to that, Steve. I'm pumped you're becoming a father. While we're on this mining topic, this was interesting. A freak, when I had to ask the freaks to send out a SATS signal to get your attention to record, one of the freaks responded in the comments with a story I haven't seen yet. It was actually posted this morning on CoinDesk. The largest Bitcoin mining pool blocks internet access from mainland China, keeping pace with China's efforts to ban crypto-linked activities. Ant Pool is blocking users with mainland China IP addresses. Ant Pool has tight affiliations with Bitmain. So this isn't surprising, especially as I imagine they're trying to operate delicately as they try to move their operations out of China into other states. And I guess they're just trying to play nice with.
Yeah, but I mean, they're still not. I mean, I don't think they do any kind of KYC. So you just use like savvy Chinese users are using a VPN.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I would imagine. But
VPN and burner addresses. I'm exhausted.
I can
fucking
tell.
Yawned on air. I haven't done that ever before. I don't think.
Am I boring you?
Except when I completely fell asleep on the Armed Out episode.
Yeah.
We have a holiday special coming out with Armed Out at some point in the future. I don't know.
Be aware.
And we have to tease. We're doing a live rabbit hole recap
next Thursday. We're going to be live from the Unchained offices. Parker, Joe, Drew, Phil, Tyler, Cam, anybody who's listening at the Unchained offices, we're gonna have to figure out how to get the recording stuff figured out. I don't have that capability.
Yeah, I mean, neither do I.
So anybody in the Austin, Texas area knows how to set up live podcast. We've been doing this for years, but as you freaks may know, we're not the most technically competent podcasting duo here.
I mean, we could just use a phone.
I could bring this stuff. I mean, we could record locally.
That's what we're gonna. Of course, we're gonna record locally, Marty.
Obviously, but we need speakers and stuff like that.
Oh, true. I don't know how to do that shit.
Yeah, or else we'll just be screaming at a room full of 200 people. We're opening for
someone's asking if I'm stoned. I'm not stoned.
We're opening for BitDevs. So that's a big come up. I mean, we've done the conference circle.
I've never opened for BitDevs. I've only closed for BitDevs.
Yeah.
But not haven't done a show. I've just gone out for drinks.
Yeah. A lot of pressure. Big week in Austin, Texas next week. We have BitDevs.
I'm super excited.
F1 week. Vibes are high. The energy in the city's palpable. I'm excited for you to get here because I think once you're here, you're gonna have a full court press recruiting session for a whole week.
I expect nothing less.
I will be shocked if you leave without your percentage of possibility of moving here.
Do not disappoint me.
Oh, I won't. Don't worry. We've got plans. Parker and I were talking about them already.
High expectations.
Yeah. But to tie up this Ampool story, does this does it should it something we'd be worried about moving forward? We should highlight the fact that the ability to move between pool to pool is very easy. However, should we hypothetical if every pool started doing this?
Yeah, you can move between pools very easily. But the fear is that there's the way that governments went after exchanges, specifically the US government, let's be honest, we're the land of KYC. The way governments have gone after exchanges, they could go after mining pools first in a similar way. And then the only mining pools that won't be doing KYC are going to be like some nim is going to be running a mining pool out of like Thailand. No one's going to know who he is or she. It's just that's a pool. They don't KYC. They've been around for 8 months. I'm going to use them. And like that's our out, I guess, in that situation. But there could be a situation where like all like the 4-5 top mining pools are all like fully captured KYC, which wouldn't be great because then all the individual miners under them. So you have these mining pools, and then under them you have miners sending work to those pools, right? So like the pools, like the team, and then the miners are the players, the individual miners are the players. So those pools are kind of centralizing,
like
but
that
underneath it's more distributed. What?
Yeah, I like that analogy a lot. Like distributed pools. This is why I think a return of something like P2 pool needs to happen at some point. A distributed pool.
The problem is you're at a disadvantage, right? So you make less money, and in Bitcoin land, like one of the key things we've learned is like you need financial incentives, right? Like financial incentives need to be aligned. You shouldn't be doing something out of like we shouldn't expect miners to do something out of ideological reasons. Like they should be doing things to be as profitable as possible. Well, so like as long as we have people like Slush Pool that are ideologically minded, that's great. And right now the mining pools are located in different countries, so that there's some regulatory arbitrage. But if there came to be basically like an initiative by some of these governments to come together and pressure these large public facing mining pools, then we got to kind of, we're going to have to fight a bit, and people are going to have to run rogue pools.
Yeah. And I mean, this is how you game theory it out. I mean, you mentioned the fact that these peer-to-peer pools aren't as profitable, but at a certain point in time, if the scenario which you just described comes to fruition, it would actually be economically incentivized to run a distributed pool, because if Bitcoin were to turn into this KYC hellscape at the pool level, it arguably wouldn't be as valuable in the long run, correct? So even though
but I'm saying like if all you need is like, so like not all independent miners are the same, right? There's some independent miners that have a large amount of hash, right? So one of them like spins up a centralized pool, not a P2 pool, P2P pool.
They just self-mine.
No, and then they make it public and they let other people join them so that they increase their variance. And then we're back in the same situation. Like, as long as someone is able to somewhere around the world run a mining pool without KYC, there'll never be major P2P pool. It's so hard to say on audio. It's P2 pool is what it is. I'm adding a P just to make it sound better. But which is like a spec to basically do like a distributed mining pool. There's no one in charge.
Yeah, Bob McElrath and Eric Voskuil are working on a spec for Braid Pool, which is a similar pool to P2 pool.
But I think as long as like resources are kind of low to start a pool, like a relatively competitive pool, then you're kind of overthinking it, right? Like it's hard to set up a fiat to Bitcoin exchange. You need banking relationships. You need to, like have registered entities and deal with all these real world issues to get it started. To start a mining pool, like it's way less friction. It has way less regulatory like surface area where like regulators can like really hit you. So that's like kind of the advantage we have, right?
Yes, I agree.
Oh yeah, Stratum V2. Someone mentioned Stratum V2 too.
I mean, but even there, like the pool operators can be forced to like KYC.
Yeah, I mean Stratum V2, you might be KYC'd, but you get to choose the construction of your blocks.
Yeah. Well, then like
help this particular situation.
Yeah, Stratum V2 is a good step in the right direction. Like the problem is though, you construct a block, the pool still has to broadcast it to the network, right? Could the government prevent them from broadcasting particular blocks?
I mean, the real problem is the way pools are constructed right now is they take custody. you mine, it goes into their custodial wallet, and then you withdraw. And those custodial relationships are like
centralizing.
We usually don't talk about this on air. Like I don't even.
No, yeah,
Like we shouldn't talk about it as a community. We should just let it go under the radar as much as possible.
Yeah, which is like that. So that's what
that's the issue, is the custodial relationship.
Well, that's the issue Braid Pool is trying to fix. They're trying to figure out a way to create like a covenant transaction to distribute the Coinbase automatically directly to the miners who are contributing hash to that peer.
Right. And Laurentia Pool is trying to just pay out from Coinbase. Mm-hmm. But then you have issues that if you're a small miner, you're going to basically get a bunch of dust.
Yeah.
And when we say Coinbase, we mean the Coinbase transaction is in every block. It's the transaction that pays the miner. The miner pays himself from the block.
Yeah. Well, it's a transaction.
It's not from the exchange. It's not from the exchange.
Yeah, that's Coinbase really. Coinbase and Lightning. Well, Lightning Labs isn't as bad. Getting the Lightning ad handle on Twitter is a little bad. But Coinbase, like, it's a very technical term in Bitcoin and it confuses people. Yeah, so you have your Coinbase transaction. You have to wait 100 confirmations after you mine a block for that Coinbase to be released to you. But it includes the subsidy and the fee reward, correct? That's both.
Yes.
Coinbase, yeah. A little Bitcoin technical talk.
And there's no transaction fee on Coinbase transactions because it's the miner's transaction.
Yeah.
They would be paying themselves. So there's no transaction fee on that. But if you're a small miner, let's say you're running running one ASIC, and you're making like a couple cents on that block, or let's do it in sats terms, you're making like 5,000 sats on that block or 2,000 sats on that block. You'll get that transaction for free, but then to send it out, you're going to pay a high percentage in fees after that.
Yes.
So it becomes a fee burden. So for small miners, it's nice that you can build up your balance, and then a lot of pools, including Slush Pool, have like auto withdraw, and then it'll automatically pull out to your own wallet after a certain amount of time. That custodial relationship right there is the biggest, to me, is always been the biggest fear.
Yeah. Beware, freaks, be aware. We have Neil and other plebs in the comments saying that we're going to get a pleb pool. So
I mean, I just saw Neil saying, I think, did I explain that after you said that? But yeah,
you said it before. Yeah, you said it before, and then I watched it come through after the no fee.
Yeah, the dust is not the beginning part, Neil. It's the next transaction afterwards.
Yeah. So think about it, freaks. Understand it. Try to get creative around it. What else have we got here? We got software updates next, but first we'll break to go to shout outs. We have 6 shout outs today. Thank you, freaks, for the shout outs. I think I'm going to start doing this more. Out of the 6 shout outs, 4 were paid over Lightning, 2 were on chain. I just thought that was interesting. And I told Matt before that he's really going to like this particular shout out, the one we're starting with, to the best podcast combo in the space. My first post mix spend goes to you guys. Thanks to you and other free open source privacy technologies, I'm getting my digital act together. Strong encryption and privacy is truly the Second Amendment of the 21st century. We all should remember there is no finish line. Education and resistance is just what life is. Really, there are 2 aspects of the same thing. They are 2 aspects of the same thing. Excuse me. Regarding education, it comes back to key control. All of us need to, in our own circles and as much as individually possible, be an Uncle Jim for our people, particularly our younger people, as in Meat Space. When people assert their own sovereignty in the digital realm, we can affect change. It starts with key control. Whatever you guys do in the future, it's clear that it will be awesome. Please be careful, Marty. Thank you for the inspiration. I don't know why I told me particularly to be careful.
Because you're so inflammatory sometimes.
Oh, I know. Hey, I'm pretty calm today. I
fucking love that he just told you alone to be careful.
Thank you for the inspiration and knowledge. Cheers. Hey, why is it locked at $50? Am I supposed to buy you a bottle too? You don't have to. I don't know. Why did we choose 50? I think at the time we just thought it was fair.
It just was like a nice round number.
Yeah.
It's completely arbitrary. It's like, why did Satoshi choose 21 million?
Yeah, exactly.
It just felt right.
If you guys want
I was saying we could lock it in at sats, but like then it's just going to get unreasonably expensive.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna like to get a shout out in like 2030. Like you're gonna have to like send us the equivalent of like a brand new house today.
Right. Next shout out with respect to LNURL. Excuse me. With respect to the LNURL is great, but requires a 24/7 web server canard. Number one, doesn't Bolt 12 require a 24/7 Lightning node server? And how many of those Lightning nodes do you know that don't have a web server as part of the distribution? Two, part of the lesson of Facebook's 5-hour outage is that if you put all the services on the inside of one service under your hyper competent dog food eating control, one day it may all fall down. You can't even get in the door to fix it. Once you consider yourself the best at everything, as Facebook clearly does, hubris will take you down. LNURL certainly has some issues, but being strapped into an increasingly complex protocol suite isn't one of them, and the web server requirement is hardly onerous. So I like that take. That
was it signed by anybody?
Not signed by anybody, no. Anonymous. Huh. I like that. I mean, I thought that was an interesting perspective.
I'm pro Bolt 12. I mean, I like Lightning URL too and Lightning address.
Like I'm pro optionality. Why not try all of them?
What's cool about Bolt 12 is just completely built into the spec. I mean, it's just Lightning native. You don't need to have an external web server.
Yeah. Ooh, one thing you don't have the list. I want to mention it now while it's on top of my mind. Did you see AJ Town's proposal for Taproot PTLCs?
No.
That's interesting. So PTLCs.
When did that come out?
Earlier in the week.
Okay.
I'm too technically incompetent to describe the details of Anthony's, or AJ, he goes by AJ, Anthony AJ, I think it's interchangeable, of what he's trying to do. But I do know, obviously, Taproot's on the horizon, and PTLC's point time lock contracts are would be a replacement for the HTLCs, the hash time lock contracts that enable you to open up Lightning Network channels. And we've had podcasts in the past, particularly with Chris Stewart and Nadav Cohen from Shorebits. Highly recommend you go check that one out. And that was like the last in person before COVID. PTLCs would be more efficient and more private. And so it's interesting to see AJ working on this, and he seems to believe that he found a way to implement it via Taproot, and he believes it's better than other specs that are out there for implementing PTLCs. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'll try to find a link to that and throw it in the show notes.
That's awesome. Definitely throw that in the show notes.
Yeah. So there's some discussion going on around that. Next shout out.
That was just okay. Awesome. That wasn't a shout out.
No, that was just me riffing off the top.
Yeah, man, I'm tired.
I can tell.
I'm sorry, freaks. I know this is a weaker episode than usual for me, at least. Marty's been killing it.
I don't think so. I think you don't sell yourself.
You should stay careful, but.
Sup, freaks? If you're working for a shitcoin company or professional surveillance mercenary, I'm talking to you. Yes, you. Now's your chance to repent before hyper-Bitcoinization. There are tons of Bitcoin companies hiring. In parentheses, bitcoinerjobs.co. Bitcoinerjobs.co. Get after it, Anon. Love you, Matt. Love you, Marty. Love you, freaks. From Sahil. Good friend.
Oh, I love Sahil. Sahil?
Yeah.
I think it's Sahil.
Sahil, yeah.
Yeah. I love that dude. Cheers, freak.
This is one of my favorite types of fucking shout outs. I fucking love these shout outs. This is a shout out to my cousin Brian, who back in the day let me crash on the couch of his dog crate of an apartment in NYC. I've tried to convince him to get some Bitcoin exposure like his brother, but the kid is coming from traditional finance and is lost. Marty and Matt, can you convince him to stack sats? I don't want to have to tell my family to have fun staying poor.
What's the name of his friend?
Brian.
Do we know the name of the guy who did the shout out?
No,
it's his cousin.
Yeah. So Brian, if you're listening, your cousin is worried about. He's worried about the future of your family and the safety, your financial security. How do I convince you? You're in traditional finance. I'm not even going to take that. Like I went on the Barstool Dog Walk podcast earlier this week. The Chicago guy. Shout out to Eddie and Chief and my boy Tom Lee as well for having me on to try to break down Bitcoin for them. Did my best to articulate it as clearly as possible in layman terms. I'm working on that pitch. I will say to you, do you want to live in a society where you're completely surveilled, where the authorities have the ability to stop you from making a transaction, from receiving a transaction, from spending your money, from having the same amount of money in your account one day as you had in it the day before. What I'm trying to allude to there is they can confiscate your wealth. They can tax it immediately. That is the direction that the world is moving in. If Bitcoin does not succeed, we're going to get the Chinese social credit scoring financial system, digital panopticon, exported to the rest of the world, or we're going to live free in the digital age because Bitcoin exists and allows us to do that. On top of that, it's the scarcest and soundest money that has ever existed on the face of the planet, and you better get some before it gets too expensive.
Dude, it's a very long show.
Hey.
Brian, this is a very compelling argument for Marty. Your cousin is going to have so much more fucking wealth than you if you don't fucking start stacking today. Just consider it. Just consider it.
I think that's more convincing. Yeah, Brian, do you want your cousin to be richer than you? You want him to be
he might still be richer than you, but don't let him be that much, you know?
Yeah.
Got to start stacking.
You need to know that he knows that you're also well off.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Matt, thanks for your help recently. Marty, keep fighting the evil powers. I will. Apparently, I need to stay safe. I am trying to start and find a meetup in Eastern Iowa. You can find our Telegram group, Eastern Iowa Bitcoin Only, or DM on Twitter for an invite at Preef, Prieff. Peace and love, freaks. See you toxic maxis in Miami. You said, Marty, insert your here.
Sweet. Cheers, freak. More meetups the better. But honestly, guys, like, try to take less pictures at them and just be aware that there might be a spook or two there.
There's always going to be a spook there. New York Bit Devs, like, remember were you there the one time they had like that ex-Israeli intelligence guy give a presentation on the wall? I was like, what are you doing here, dude?
I asked him a question.
Yeah. It was like, yeah, use our custodial wallet. It's like, fuck no, dude. Like, get out of here.
You'll always have spooks there, but no pictures or reduce pictures. Don't be the guy who pulls out your phone and does like the pan shot of all the Bitcoiners that are chilling. Don't be that guy.
The Houston Bitcoin meetup is not OPSEC conscious at all. Yeah.
Marty, was this like coordinated by the freaks? Like, feels like every shout out is like just warning you to be just like a little bit. Just keep your head on the swivel.
I'm happy to be in Texas. Oh God, now you guys got me worried. Do I have to be worried?
I think it's just important for people to realize that we're peaceful and that we love this country. We just want what's best.
Yes, peace and love. I ended on peace and love
for everybody.
Non-violence, peace and love. I do believe in gun rights, but that's only to protect yourself, not to aggress against others. Yeah, I'm a peaceful guy.
You know, it's not my words. It's what the freaks are just saying. I'm just trying to interpret the freaks.
I know.
Interpret.
God, you are tired. Jesus, man.
I've been up since fucking 5 a.m.
That's
4 in the morning, 4:30.
Software updates. Eclair version 0.6.2.
We'll miss you, Marty. That's a great comment. That's a bad comment.
Stop I have a child who's very young, but I really like to be around to see him grow up, and I would actually like to have more children. And would like my wife to be supported, not be a single mother. So this stuff legitimately freaks me out. So
it really fucks me up too.
Umbrella version 0.4.
I laugh at it, but
yeah, to my FBI agent, CIA agent who's thinking about hitting me with the heart attack gun, please think of my family.
Did you see there's a new novelty account on Twitter, Marty Spook?
Marty Spook, my favorite. I'm pretty sure it's a parody account. Marty's cellmate is a new one.
Oh, that's what it is. It wasn't Marty Spook. It was Marty's cellmate. Yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious.
I've seen that account like my tweets. I'm like, fuck, man. Like,
well, I'm glad we can laugh about it.
Marty is a Jesuit. Quit wearing. I did go to a Jesuit high school. It doesn't mean like I'm a practicing Jesuit. I'm a Catholic, but I don't know if I would consider myself Jesuit.
Okay, software updates.
Umbrella version 0.4.4 has been released. Blue Wallet version 6.2.10 has been released. Raspberry Blitz version 1.7.1 has been released. Immortan version 0.3.5 has been released. Sparrow version 1.5.1 has been released. Nix Bitcoin version 0.0.53 has been released. And Lightning Terminal version 0.5.2 alpha has been released. As always with the software updates, you do not have to rush to go update them unless there are critical vulnerabilities. I don't think there are in any of the updates we just mentioned right here. So look into what is being updated, what's being added, and consider if you want to update any of these softwares if you're running them.
Yep.
Gladstein on the early cypherpunks and Adam Back.
This was such a good fucking piece.
This is like a tome.
Everything he writes has been fantastic, especially recently. He's just been fucking killing it. But this one, I'm telling you, if you haven't read any of the other ones, even if you have, like, you got to read this one. This is the one you have to read.
Yeah, it goes to the birth of the cypherpunks, deep into Adam Back's history. Not Adam, Alex. Well, Adam too. Alex is doing incredible things for the Bitcoin space. I had the honor and luxury of having breakfast with Alex last Saturday. It was just a great conversation. He's a very, what he's doing via the Human Rights Foundation is one of the most high leverage forums of Bitcoin advocacy out there in the world right now. How are you going to tell?
Yeah, I mean,
dissidents,
brother. I love that dude.
Despotic regimes that Bitcoin isn't providing them value and that they can't use something like Bitcoin when it gives them. I think he's got the silver bullet. Like, you're going to tell these people they can't use this freedom enabling technology that they desperately need.
Yeah.
So go check that out.
Bitcoin isn't a silver bullet, but Gladstein is Bitcoin's silver bullet.
Yes. No, and I think again, I mentioned Texas Slim's Substack about the cattle co-op here in Texas, and in that he says Bitcoin is just a tool. It doesn't fix everything inherently. It's just a tool that allows you to then begin to fix things. Like, you need 100%. To take action, and I think that's important. Yes, Bitcoin fixes this is a great meme. It does have a lot of validity. You can go fix things.
Yes,
you have sound money, but then you have to implement action to follow that up. You can't just like point a Bitcoin wallet at a supply chain and have it be fixed.
100%.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is a tool.
Yes, a very powerful tool. That's it. That's all we had on the list. I know you're tired. Probably like an hour and 15 minutes in now. Should we just riff and end?
What do you got?
Mosquitoes down here are bad.
Well, your porch is screened in.
Yeah, it's not the best defense. Luckily, it's a little cooler here in Austin than it has been for the rest of the week, so it seems like they're chilling out. But my son, he's just been getting attacked. There's a war on my family being waged by mosquitoes.
Did you see what Neil said in the comments? We haven't seen a single squirrel this whole recording.
There was one on the tree. Yeah, I actually, because I actually remember. Well, you guys can roll the tapes at the live recording. There was a squirrel.
Roll the tapes, guys. There was a squirrel.
Why does that matter? A squirrel's fake or something? Is this like the birds are fake?
No, I think he was accusing you of it being a green screen.
Oh, no, it's just a screen. There's a screen in porch. Should I go climb that tree real quick?
It's the original green screen. There's green behind us.
I'm gonna go hug the tree. Go hug the tree.
Go hug the tree. Go hug the tree. This was for you, Neil. This happened because of you. He's actually doing it. Let's fucking go. Which tree did he hug the wrong tree? Nope, he didn't. Let's fucking go. Love you, freaks. That was one of the best rabbit hole recap moments we've ever had. That was fantastic. It actually takes them a while to get between the two spots.
Is that
Marty? That was amazing.
Is that proof of tree?
The freaks are very happy about it. I was very happy about it. Very excited.
All right. Hey, you can't have people thinking this is some psyop operation here. We're trying to bring you authenticity.
I mean, it took you like kind of a while to get there. So like maybe there was some, Photoshop magic that happened. Like you ran to the machine to handle it.
Yeah, I could CGI. Damn.
Maybe like Klaus Schwab's behind it.
Do you want me to run through the screen and then hug the tree when we break the screen?
That was honestly one of the best rabbit hole recap moments. I already told the freaks this. You couldn't hear that part.
Oh, thank you.
But it was.
Well, let's end it on a high note then. You
Yeah.
go take a nap or.
No, I'm gonna go out. I love you, Marty. I love you, freaks. Stay humble, stack sats. I'll see you next week in Austin. Hopefully, if people are alive. But I'll see Marty there.
Peace and love. Yeah, you live stream guys. We'll get alpha some other time. We're not gonna do it this week.
Yeah. Peace.
Okay.